Hello, and welcome back to our channel, the best place for all things sewing. I'm Jody, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make two different modified pocket styles using the Calgary Cardigan pattern. The pattern itself includes a beautifully constructed inseam pocket. I love the finished look of this pocket. However, due to the pocket placement, it's not compatible with the hip-length version of the cardigan. Because of this limitation, I created a modification that instead puts a pocket on the front bodice of the pattern, as you can see here. The second modification builds on that and also includes a pocket on the front bodice and is the slouchy pocket that you see here. I'm going to show you how to make both of those modifications in this video. But first, why don't you take a minute to hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. For both of the modifications that I'm going to show you, you're going to need the same supplies. First of all, you're going to need your pattern piece for the front bodice from the Calgary Cardigan pattern. You're going to need a straight edge, you're going to need a measuring tool, some marking utensils, and some paper. Note that I'm using my projector here, so even though I don't have a physical pattern piece in front of me, you can see my front bodice piece right here. Don't forget, we have some great videos on using your projector for sewing. Using the front bodice piece and a new piece of paper, I'm going to draw the outline of this bottom part of the front bodice piece where my pocket's going to sit. The important part for me is making sure that a phone fits in the pocket. So I'm going to use a phone to make sure that I have enough space for it to fit. So I'm going to trace around the bottom part of the bodice here where I'm going to create the pocket, making sure I have enough height to cover that phone. So you'll see I'm just going to trace over these curved lines. Now I need to create the top part of my pocket piece. I love all the curved lines that the Calgary Cardigan has, so I'm going to mimic that and also have a curved top to my pocket. So I'm just going to freehand this, and again, making sure that it's tall enough to hold my phone securely. I'm just going to draw another curved line up like this. You can see my new pocket piece here, outlined in pink. I'm going to label it with some important information and then go ahead and cut it out. There, you can see I've cut out my new pocket piece and I can go ahead and cut out the rest of my pattern. Next, I'm going to begin cutting out my pattern pieces from the fabric. I have my front bodice piece here, I have my pocket piece, and then I'm also going to need to finish the top edge of my pocket. You can either choose to fold it over and edge stitch it as a hem, or you can add a band. I'm going to add a band to mine. So first, I'll lay out my fabric and I will cut my front bodice piece. And remembering this is hip length, so I'm only going to cut here to the hip length part of my pattern. Okay, so there is my front bodice piece. I'm then going to get rid of the pattern so I don't have any unnecessary lines there. And I'm going to cut out my pocket piece. Again, remembering the grain line and the top edge. Place this here. And cut out around my pocket. So there is my pocket piece. Now I need to create a band for the top of this to finish it. I'm gonna cut a piece that's about 6.5 inches by about 1.75 inches. Trim up this other side. And there we have our band for the top of the pocket. So I'm going to set my bodice piece aside for the time being, and I'm going to take my pocket piece and I'm going to finish the top edge of it. So I'm going to take my pocket piece and my band piece. I'm going to fold the band wrong sides together. And then I'm going to take it and place it on top of my pocket piece, stretching it ever so slightly along this top edge. And clip it in place. Here we go. Now I'm going to step over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this on to attach the band to finish the top edge of the pocket. Here is my pocket piece with the band sewn on. You can see I used a contrast stitching so you could easily see it, but the band is sewn on, and then you can flip that band up, press it, and top stitch along here to give it a nice finished look. After you have top stitched your band or finished the hem on your pocket piece, it's time to assemble the pocket. Take your front bodice piece and lay it out. Then you will take your pocket piece and you will set it right on top, matching those bottom curves. You'll see it fits perfectly right on top of there, matching those curves. You'll take some clips and clip all the way around this curve and the side seam curve, holding the pocket in place. You'll see I've got my pocket piece clipped onto the bottom of my bodice. I'm going to step over to my machine real quick and baste this into place. All right, I have basted my pocket piece onto the front bodice. You can see I used a contrast thread to baste that on there. There's the pocket, and now that is your front bodice piece. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the mirror image of this for the other side and the rest of my pieces and continue assembling it just like I normally would. I can treat this bodice piece as a single bodice piece and the pocket is already finished. Once you are finished assembling your pattern, according to the instructions, this is what you should have. You'll see the pocket right here on the front bodice. So now that we've started with that basic front bodice pocket piece, I'm going to show you how to build on that to make the slouchy pocket. Again, starting with the front bodice piece of our Calgary Cardigan pattern, we're going to take a piece of paper and lay it over top of the bottom of the front bodice where these curves are. Using my marking tool, I am going to start with this curve along here, using my marking pen to do that curve. Now, I also want to make sure that this is deep enough to hold a phone. So I'm going to extend that up just a little bit further to make sure that phone stays securely in there. Now, this is going to be the edge of our pocket piece. However, I have to do a modification to make it slouchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pencil to temporarily mark this side seam in pencil, because I'm going to go back and erase that later. Now, for this one, I need a straight edge at the top because it's going to be cut on the fold. So I'm going to take my straight edge, and again, I'm going to angle this down just a little bit just to make sure that slouchiness is accentuated. So I'm going to angle this down a little bit, and I'm going to draw a straight line that will be my fold. This is going to be my fold line. I'll go over that and darken it with the darker marking pen when I'm ready for that. But what I need to do now is extend that line, and I chose about 1.5 inches. That was kind of the measurement I decided on for the amount of slouch I want, and I'm going to mark 1.5 inches outside the side seam over here. Now I'm going to go over this line and darken that so that I know that that is going to be the top of my pocket, and I'm going to mark this as the fold line so I don't forget. Now, what I need to do is create the side seam over here. So all I'm going to do is keep this point matched up down here, and I'm going to rotate this piece of paper until this line matches my side seam. This point is still down here and this matches up here. So I'm going to go ahead and trace that as my new side seam. So you can see I have that pencil line there that was just for reference so that I could draw this line, and I'm going to now go back and erase that pencil mark. Now I'm going to go ahead and label the rest of my pattern piece and cut this one out. Now that we have this cut out, I'm going to show you how to cut our fabric. I'm going to lay out my fabric and cut out this front bodice piece. So here is our front bodice piece. I'm going to set that aside and get rid of any other lines so I don't get confused. And now I'm going to cut out the pocket piece for the slouchy pocket. Now remember, this one needs to be cut on the fold. So take your fabric, fold it in half. Place the pocket on the fold like this. This is my fold up here. And then I will go ahead and cut this out. All right, now I'm going to show you how to assemble this pocket. So first things first, this is what your pocket piece will look like unfolded. Yours might look a little bit different just depending on how you angled your top. It is a straight line, but you may have angled it more. So your pocket piece might look a little bit different. So take your pocket piece and fold it wrong sides together. And this fold is going to be your top finished edge of the pocket. So fold your pocket piece together, and you can set it next to your bodice. And this is the bottom curved part of the bodice. Starting with this inside curve, you're going to lay your pattern piece or your pocket piece on top of your bodice, and you're going to clip along this curve to start. All right, you can see I have clipped the pocket piece onto my front bodice piece along this curve. You'll notice that it doesn't line up over here because we created that slouch. So what we'll need to do now is take your piece and sort of fold it back onto itself and line up this side seam over here, keeping this point lined up down at the bottom here. And then taking this edge and aligning it along the side seam. You can see as I'm doing that, it creates this fold right here, which is totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and clip along this side. All right, and you can see that there's a little extra here, which is what creates that slouch on the pocket. I'm going to go step over to my sewing machine real quick and baste this pocket piece in place. All right, I have basted my slouchy pocket onto my front bodice. You can see I use contrast thread there too, so you can see it. And you can see that little fold creates that slouchy pocket look. So this pocket is finished and attached to the bodice, and I can go ahead and cut the mirror image of this for the other side, the rest of the pieces, and then go ahead and assemble just as I normally would, because that pocket is already attached on there. And just like in the last version, you'll finish assembling according to the pattern, and this is what it will look like at the end with these slouchy pockets. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make these fun modified pockets on the Calgary Cardigan pattern. We have a super helpful community on Facebook in the Pattern Niche group, so make sure you join and you can share your creations and ask for help. We also have a whole bunch of information linked in the description below, so make sure you check that out too. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.